Good evening, candidates, residents of Acushnet, and guests. Welcome to Candidates Night 2023, hosted by the Acushnet Lions. I'm Ray St. Pierre, a member of the Acushnet Lions. To give a briefing on tonight's program, we will have candidates that are unopposed come up first and give a short speech about themselves, their position they are seeking, and asking for your vote. If there are written questions from the audience, candidates will have time to respond. Contestant races, each candidate will be given time to give opening remarks. Candidates will answer written questions from the audience, finishing with closing remarks and asking for your vote. At this time, I'd like to bring up our King Lion to say a few words about the Acushnet Lions Club.
Easy, Chris. Thank you very much. As Ray said, my name is Bob Perry. I'm the current president of the Acushnet Lions Club. I've been the president since last July. I've had a great year. We have a great crew. I just want to go over a couple things that maybe people really don't understand what Lions do and the whole history of maybe the Acushnet Lions Club. So I just wrote down a few notes, so just bear with me. I'm going to first talk about the actual Lions itself. And our motto is, and you've probably seen it out there, is that we serve, and that's who we are. And that's globally around the country. The Lions vision statement is to be the global leader in the community and humanitarian service. Our mission is to empower volunteers to serve their communities, meet humanitarian needs, encourage peace, and promote international understanding through Lions Clubs. Lions Clubs not only does vision, we also are involved in hearing, diabetes, environment, hunger, and childhood cancer, and supporting the needs of these individual communities. Basically, the Lions colors, if you've seen them, they're purple and gold and royal blue. The emblem, you see it, it's the two lions. That's the face of the Lions Club. So basically how it all began, I don't know if anybody's heard of Melvin Jones. He was the forefather of Lions, born in 1879. But in June of 1917, he was invited to Chicago to lay out the groundwork for this organization, and then became the Association of Lions Clubs was actually born. His personal code, which you can't get far until you start doing something for somebody else, became a guiding principle for public-spirited people all over the world. And then came along Helen Keller. In 1925, Helen Keller, she attended the Lions Club International Convention, and she challenged Lions to become the Knights of the Blind in the crusade against darkness. The Lions accepted her challenge, and our work ever since has included psych programs aimed at preventing blindness. In Massachusetts alone, there is 5 districts. Acushnet is in District 33S. District 33S is comprised of over 48 other clubs in our district. Each and every year, the Acushnet Lions Club comes within probably the top 5 out of 48 clubs in money raised and given out back to Massachusetts Lions Eye Research and the Lions International Fund. Just last year alone, in the 2021-2022 year, at the last convention we were at, the Acushnet Lions Club received the award for the highest District 33S per capita donation to Massachusetts Lions Eye Research, and we're considered a large club. Our club currently has 50 members in it, and we do have a member right now that's about to join, so it'll bring it up to 51. The Acushnet Lions Club was founded on February 12, 1957, with Jethro over Ashley Jr. being its first president. It was pretty good that I found this book in the archives. This book was actually from a 1982 25th anniversary for Lions. It has a lot of good information in it. The Fairhaven Lions Club was actually our sponsoring club back in June of 1957. In the mid-1980s, Acushnet Lions started to make regular donations to the Massachusetts Lions Eye Research Fund. We've become one of the leading donators to this charity, and up to this date, we've raised well over $600,000 given to Massachusetts Lions Eye Research. We support district events, which raises funds for things called Journey for Sight, Operation Shoebox, Hearing Foundation, iMobile Spot Camera. We recycle eyeglasses, hearing aids, we award scholarships and other needed community projects. Just some of the other things that the Lions are involved in within the community. We install handicap. We currently have a couple of handicap ramps if anybody's in need of a handicap ramp. We just actually recently installed one. We're involved at the Veterans Memorial. You'll see us out there every year in November, getting it ready for the annual event, and we install the bricks. We sponsor various teams in the community. Again, as I said, we give out scholarships every year. This coming summer, we're sponsoring the concert at the library. Some of the events that we do during the course of the year that allows us to raise the money that we raise. You'll probably see us over at the Apple Peach Festival every year. We have a food booth, and we also have the beer and wine booth. We put on a great clam bake in September. We hold Valentine's Day raffles. We have a St. Patrick's Day raffle. We have a comedy night in December every year. It's a great, great time. This year, I think we had over 250 people attend. It was a great night. You'll see us in a couple of weeks. We do White Cane Day. You'll see us at the Four Corners collecting money for Mass Lions Eye Research. We run a great golf tournament for any of you golfers in June. Our Duck Masters here tonight, Lion Joe. As you see, we have our annual duck race coming up. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. The ducks could run in the river between Napa and the River's End. That's coming up on Father's Day. So those are some of the events that we do during the course of the year, which allows us to raise the money that we do. So I want to thank everybody tonight for coming. I wish all the candidates the best of luck tonight and in the upcoming election. And I want to just hand it back over to Lion Ray St. Pierre.
Thank you, Bob. There are a couple of things I wanted to mention before I turn it over also, is I want to thank the candidates for coming out tonight. You know, get out there, put your name out there. It's good to see people out there wanting to run for office and do the work that's needed to be done. I want to thank Heather from the Council on Aging for sharing the venue with us and setting it up. Pam Labonte for getting me the information on who's running. John Golder from the cable crew, I had talked to him, make sure we had gotten this, also with the cable, Beth David here, from Neighborhood News, the Acushnet Lions who supported this, the residents that are here, and our host moderator. And now, please give a warm welcome to our host moderator, the voice of the South Coast, Phil Paliogas. Thank you.
This goes to all the Lions. You hear me? It is such a personal pleasure to be here tonight on behalf of a beautiful organization like the Lions. Mission accomplished, by the way, Bob. Before we start, I'd like to share just some personal feelings. After all my years on the radio, I've come to realize that the real only way we're going to advance is when we all work together. And with that, let me just say, we are going to have a lot of candidates tonight, yes? Yes. All right. Somewhere, oh wait, I have them right here. Why don't we do this? Can I have another word? Do you mind if I have one more word?
No.
You know, when you go to a show like The Tonight Show, all these late night shows, they only show you the part where he walks out to, thunderous applause. You didn't see 2 hours before that of these comedians coming out, everyone trying to warm you up, people holding signs, laugh. So I'm going to warm you up tonight, all right? You all have to vote vocally. There is a proposed crematorium that loves Acushnet? How are you going to vote? Huh? Yes? No? Who says yes? Boy, you guys are hard to warm up. Who says no?
We don't know that much about it, Phil.
It's a hypothetical.
Stirring it up.
I'm trying to get you to, that's right, think. And by the way, Bob, in order to get respect and love, you have to give it. And that's what the Lions do. So with that in mind, thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And I just wanted to say thank you to a lot of folks. Joe and Ray, just terrific helping me set this up. So I think what we're going to do is have you announce the candidates and the names, and then don't worry, I'll get you nervous enough on my own.
No, at this time, I'd like to bring up candidate for moderator position, Mr. Les Dakin. If you want to sit, it's up to you.
Thank you, Ray.
Absolutely. Come here.
Wes.
You belong in Hollywood.
I don't know if this will stand up here or not, but thank you for inviting me. I'd like to start with some personal information. I'm only going to tell you the good stuff. I've been a town resident for over 50 years. I have 2 children. My son has his doctorate in chemistry. He's a research scientist at Vertex in Boston. My daughter has her master's in education from the University of Connecticut, and she's a school administrator in Niantic, Connecticut. In my work life, I'm a retired director of operations, engineering and construction, Verizon Telecommunications. I spent 31 years of my life there. As a third-level manager, I had 10 area operations managers, some in engineering, some in construction, 62 first-level managers, cable, line foremen, and design engineers. And reporting to me was approximately 500 union personnel. With a $24 million budget, we designed and built aerial, underground, submarine, and fiber optic services for approximately 750,000 customers in the Metro North District of Boston. Something about my education: I attended Massachusetts Maritime Academy, and I ranked 2nd in a class of 70. I have an associate's degree in business administration from Bristol Community College, excuse me, and a bachelor's degree in management from Leicester University in Cambridge. Prior town service, I served the town 3 years on the Board of Assessors. I was a selectman for 2 terms, 6 years, and I'm currently seeking re-election as your town moderator. For those of you not familiar with the duties of a moderator, I'll share a few things with you. The word moderator comes from the Latin word that is spelled the same and means one who regulates or governs, in this case, the town meeting. As described in parliamentary law, the moderator is the presiding officer of town meetings who gives liberty of speech, silences unreasonable and disorderly speakers, puts all things to a vote, and in the event of a tie, casts the tie-breaking vote. Finally, he or she declares the outcome of the vote to be entered in the town records for posterity and legal documentation. Thank you.
What what a wonderfully qualified, educated person. That is wonderful. That's absolute. To dedicate your whole life like that, absolutely. So we are going to
Bring up
Ray.
our next candidate, which is running unopposed, is Town Clerk Pamela LaPonte. If she come up and say a few words.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a prepared speech, and one of the reasons that I don't is 15 years ago, I set out on this venture that I did not know was going to bring me to where I am now, today. I'm thankful for all of the town residents, the Lions Club support, the COA for hosting this evening, Phil for you being here, it's wonderful to see you. Being a town clerk is, honestly, I've said this before, it's a dream job for me. I enjoy doing what I do. Not to say that every day is the best of days, but I truly do enjoy serving the residents of the town. I enjoy being there, answering the questions, helping other departments, and working, as Phil had mentioned, working together. That's always been very important to me. 15 years ago, I ran my campaign on professionalism. And not on the politics. And I think it's very important with the town clerk's position that it be understood that it can still be political in the sense that we're asking the residents for the votes to be voted in. However, the professionalism that's required every day on the job with the continuously changing laws, it's important that you have someone that does have the qualifications and the training and the certifications for that. I really don't have much more to say other than I thank you for allowing me to be here for the last 15 years, and I do hope that you'll allow me to continue for the next 3. Everyone get out and vote May 13th. Thank you.
Do you know how qualified you are? And do you know, ladies and gentlemen, in a day and age when staffing is very, very tough, you are so fortunate here in Acushnet to have the excellence of Pam. Are you kidding me? You people are very fortunate, I mean it. So,
Okay. Next on the list, we have our own member, Alliance member, Lion Bob Brown. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Again, I'm running unopposed too, but I did want to come here and thank the Lions, and you know, I am a 25-year member of the Lions Club. I am a 52-year lifetime member, resident of the town of Acushnet, been here my whole life. I love the town and I have dedicated over 20 years of public service to it. I am running for assessor. I was elected as an assessor somewhere around 20 years ago. That was the first seat I ran for. Also 20 plus years ago, I was the deputy building commissioner in town. I've been a selectman in town. I am currently the chairman of the Board of Appeals. I am on the Housing Authority, and I am chairman of the Board of Assessors. There was no reason for me to run back for an assessor seat over the last 20 years or so because we had 3 great quality candidates there already. But about 6 months ago or so, my good friend and Lion member Mark Centerizzo dropped out. He had to move on and do some other things with his life. So I stepped in the selectmen appointed me to the board. So now I have to run and get on the ballot and get that seat again by your vote. So I'm here to ask for your vote. And again, I am unopposed, but it means a lot to me to have everybody check that box and show me that I've earned your trust over the past 20 years of the service that I do for the town. And that's it. I don't have much other to say other than I do serve with the club and I do serve the town, and I'm here to serve you again for another 3 years if you'll have me.
I love how Bob, how he spells love. That's what it's about. It really is. When you respect and love your community, it shows. Where do we go from here, Mr. Ray?
Well, we have the last of our non-opposed candidates. We have a write-in candidate, actually. We have a write-in candidate for trustee of Free Public Library, Michelle Scott.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello everyone. I feel a little awkward as everyone's been here for years and years, and I'm fairly new to the town. I moved here about 6 years ago, and I've loved every minute here. I have been a patron and a lover of libraries my entire life, but specifically when I was in middle school, and that's when it became very evident to me that libraries are very integral to the community and providing a community for people. And since then, I've dedicated my whole life to libraries. I have been working in libraries since 2016. I got my master's degree at Simmons College. I currently work at the Mattapoisett Free Public Library, and when I saw that there was an opportunity here to serve my community, I jumped at it. So I'm asking you guys to take a step further because I am a write-in candidate. I would love if you guys could support me and give me the opportunity to serve the community. I understand that the Acushnet Public Library is beautiful, and currently it does not have a library director, and I would love to work with the current trustees to make sure that we get a qualified candidate in there, but also work with the current trustees to continue our library to be the best library that it can be and to provide the sense of community that it currently provides and maybe even improve it. Thank you so much for your time.
You mislabeled it. I'm not the moderator. I'm the enjoyer here. Unbelievable. This is a fabulous night, truly. By the way, as a write-in, are you going to have stickers?
I do.
Wow, that's good to know. And you're going to pass out the stickers and ask folks, right? And okay, you're a pro. Are you kidding me? Oh, your name isn't Marion, is it? Like the librarian?
No.
No. All right. She's too young for that.
No.
Hello, Beth. Hi, Jess. How are you? Another great journalist and public servant who is so valuable on the South Coast, whose voice is so wonderful to hear. Yes.
Okay, we're done with the uncontested now.
Can I go home now?
Invitations ready.
Oh, okay.
So now you're going to work, because now there's going to be questions, I'm sure.
All right.
Did anybody have any questions for any of the candidates that just spoke? I failed to ask anybody as each one. I didn't see any come forward, so just a reminder, we will have you write questions down, get them to me. I'll be going around to pick them up. Questions for school committee and selectmen coming up. So we're going to bring the candidates up for the school committee, and that's going to be Mr. Ronald Hood and Miss Ebony McGlynn. If they come up and have a seat at the table, actually.
Well, okey-dokey.
And we're going to start with ladies first, so you can start with your opening.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm Ebony McGlynn, and I've lived in Acushnet since 2005, and I am running for school committee. I have 2 children that are currently in the Acushnet schools. I wrote this whole speech too, by the way, but I can't focus on this. So I'm just going to go and just read off of it a little bit. So I am married to Eric McGlynn, who's on the finance committee, so I got some little insight there on what's been going on. I have 2 children in the school system, one on an IEP, one on a 504. And I work as a mental health professional, and I also work with children that are involved with developmental services, DDS. And so I also work for the Family Leadership Series through Nemasket. I serve on the Acushnet Fairhaven Parent Advisory Council, Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I've been there for 4 years running that with my co-chair that's in Fairhaven. And I think that's it for my roles. I know on the Special Education Parent Advisory Council also, I've also advocated for a lot of families within our community with the schools in relation to services for their children. Through my many roles in Acushnet, I've also created the Girl Scouts in the area. We've started a few groups because we noticed there was a gap in services there. And through this, I've met many wonderful parents and families. In doing this, we've also worked closer with the school. So what it comes down to is the point I'm trying to get to is that I've seen many positive changes that can come when parents and families come together. And I also know that I have a lot of passion and energy that can be dedicated to ensuring that our children receive the best education that they can. I also want to make sure that our students feel safe and supported, as well as challenged to achieve their full potential, because I think that's very important, especially with everything after COVID. I believe that education is the foundation for success in life, that all children deserve the opportunity for an appropriate education. As a school committee member, I would work tirelessly to ensure that the schools provide high quality education that prepares our students for the future. One of my top priorities is communication between our community, the schools, and not just the teachers, the administration, the school committee, as well as all the personnel that work there and the families. I think we need to be responsive to what our community needs, what our families need, and also have the family members be a part of the decision-making process and policy making. I also want to make sure that parents have a voice, and that it doesn't matter what is going on socioeconomic status that might impact our families, they still need to get the education and feel safe, and we need to make sure that that's happening. I'm committed to being open and transparent about decisions and the policies that we implement. I understand that most community members do not have children in school systems currently. We don't have a high school in the area, so a lot of them are going to different schools. 50% of the town budget is allocated to the school. Our community members deserve to know where their taxpayer money is being spent. By doing this, it will better support our future, our community, and establish a sense of trust and unity between the community and our schools. I also believe that we need to provide our teachers with the resources they need to be successful. Our teachers are the backbone of our education system. We must ensure that they have the tools, training, and support necessary in order to help our students succeed. As a representative of the school committee, I will bring a fresh perspective to the discussion. I will listen to your concerns and work tirelessly to ensure that our schools are the best that they can be. I am committed to improving the communication between schools, and I've already stated that, but that is something that I really believe in, that communication between the school and the community, and I will work to ensure that the strong and effective school board puts our students first. With your support, we can make a real difference in our schools, and I ask for your vote on election day so that I can be your voice on the school committee. Together, we will create a culture of excellence of our schools.
Ebony, thank you so very much. Ronald?
All right. All right, thank you everybody for coming out. For those who I don't know or don't know me, my name's Ron Hood. I'm seeking re-election on the school committee. I thought I'd share, one of the things I hate is talking about myself, so I'll try to navigate through this. A little bit about myself. I live in Acushnet with my wife Jen. We have 2 daughters, Emerson and Aaliyah, 11 and 8. Both of my kids go to school in the district. My wife grew up here in Acushnet, I grew up in New Bedford. We moved here in 2014 because we wanted our kids to go to school in Acushnet. That was important to us. Professionally, I've spent the last 15 years working in human resources, primarily for two large global companies, one in the medical device industry, the other in the consumer products industry. I spent 5 years prior to that working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, a large accounting firm. So I think I have a unique skill set in terms of human resources and finance that is beneficial to being on the committee. Educationally, I got my undergraduate degree from UMass Dartmouth, master's degree from Suffolk University. In addition to serving on the school committee, I've been a mentor for the last 5 or 6 years for a program called the American Corporate Partners. What we do is we take active military veterans who are looking to transition out of the military into other careers and mentor them and help them make decisions around what they may want to do. So while I personally probably didn't have what it took to serve in the military, I have many family members who did, including my grandfather who spent 30 years in the Coast Guard. And so this is my small way of honoring him and giving back to our veterans, which is important to me. I joined the school committee 3 years ago at the recommendation of a friend. Honestly, joining the committee wasn't on my radar at the time, but after some thought, thinking about my experience, my background, educationally, strengths, I thought I had something that could add some value to the committee, thought I could be of use to the committee. I think I consider myself to be a person of high character, integrity, accountability is really important to me. I like to solve problems. I'm a lifelong learner. I think all of those attributes have served me well thus far on the committee. Over that time, I've been a member of the policy subcommittee. I'm currently on the negotiation subcommittee, which is responsible for negotiating contracts with our teachers and other bargaining units, and of course, negotiating the contract with our superintendent. Being involved in the community is extremely important to me. I thought serving on the committee would be a great way for me to utilize my strengths and give back. My wife and I try to teach our kids that it's important to get involved. I always tell them, if you don't complain, if you want to do something, fix it, right? Get involved. And so serving on the committee, has been a great way for me to demonstrate that to them, while also being, extremely fulfilling to me. So I'm running for re-election because I think I can continue to add value to the committee. I think there's unfinished business that I'd like to see through. That's critical to the district. So for me, what keeps me up at night is safety. If we look at what's going on in this country, right, with the violence in schools, things like that, it's critically important that we do everything in the power of the district to make sure our kids are safe, teachers are safe, administration is safe, right? So the committee is doing a number of things that we don't discuss publicly because it's safety related that I'd like to see through to ensure that we provide the safest environment possible. I think about the long-term talent strategy of the district, and what I mean by that is, we've got a lot of teachers, administrators that are highly tenured. They've been around for a long time. In the next 3, 5, 10 years, those folks are going to be leaving the district, and we need to make sure we're attracting and retaining the best quality teachers, administrators that we can, because that's what our kids deserve. The school, the committee has been extremely focused on improving the curriculum, and I think that's been extremely important. We've seen a lot of progress there, and there's a lot more work to do there, and I'd like to see that through. Ensuring, as Ebony said, that our school has the resources, our kids have the resources that they deserve, right, to be successful. I couldn't agree more with communication and transparency. I think we've seen some incremental improvements over the last couple of years, but certainly we can continue to do better there. There's work being done in the outdoor space. We've got beautiful soccer fields there, kids running around. We've got a need to redo basketball courts, tennis courts, right? Get kids outside active over there, and I'd like to see that work through. So in closing, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the committee the last 3 years. I ask that you give me your vote and allow me to serve for another term. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
I just wanted to see if I could add there's another candidate that wasn't able to make it, so
Yeah.
if I could speak just a little bit on her behalf. Sorry.
You'd like to speak on her behalf?
Yeah,
it's okay with me. You know what? I like, why not, right? Does anyone object?
I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, it won't be long anyway. So Melissa Gadara is also running for school committee, and I know she wasn't able to be here due to family commitments. So she's a teacher in Easton and really has been very dedicated to the community as well. And I promised her that I would go ahead and at least let people know about her and let her know that she is running, and she is a strong candidate as well. I can't speak to details on her behalf. However, I wanted to make sure that her name got out there and that we acknowledge that there is another candidate, and she is a very good candidate as well.
First time, I've done a lot of these. I want you to know, I've done a lot of these. First time for that. That is absolutely, Ebony, it's refreshing. You know what it reminded me of? You ever see these kids, injuring themselves around the baseball diamond, and their opponent's third base person gets them and helps them home? That's what you just did to your friend. That's great. Okay, questions. How do we begin? Do we flip a coin?
Ladies first. They'll each answer the questions.
Oh,
Unless it's directed to a
okay,
specific
all right, that's okay. So both of you will get the same question. We'll start with Ebony. Do you feel the Acushnet schools have adequately addressed the potential threat of a school shooter, and explain in detail why you feel it is adequate or what needs to be improved?
Okay, that's a very good question, especially considering our climate right now. I do think there's a lot of things, as previously spoken about, that is behind the scenes that's happening, and I do know I had some concerns too when it came out, and I did some research and some digging, and I do think I think they definitely have a great foundation, and there's always going to be room as things come up to learn more and learn where we may be vulnerable and build on that. And we're trying to be, I'd rather, obviously, considering this day and age, be proactive rather than react after something happens, just like anybody else. I worry about my kids are there daily, but I do know that stuff happens behind the scenes too, and I know that there's some stuff that can't just go out there and that can't be all the way out there as far as the safety concerns, because that would pose a risk to our children too. So I do think they are addressing it, and from what I understand from my communication with some of the school committee members, as well as some of the school members, the professionals that are involved in the school, they are addressing those issues. I can absolutely assure you to that, but I cannot disclose details that I know of anyway at this time. And I know I want full transparency, and I've stated that. However, this would put our children at risk if some of the stuff is disclosed.
Ron? Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. So as far as I'm concerned, we can't do enough, right? And so, at least I'll speak for myself, not the rest of the committee members. I'm committed to leave no stone unturned, to do absolutely every single thing that we can do to prevent that kind of violence. Because frankly, we've seen it happen here, right? It's not like it hasn't happened here, right? In 1993, I was a senior in high school when something happened in Acushnet. And so, and back then it was a big deal. Now it's kind of a daily occurrence. But I can tell you that I'm committed, and I think the rest of the folks that are on the committee, in fact, I know, are committed to doing absolutely everything we can to prevent something like that from happening in this district, from happening again in this district.
Thank you both very much. Let's start once again with, will you support Acushnet teachers and their judgment to select reading material that will benefit our students' diversity, equity, and inclusion? If not, explain where you feel oversight would be needed. Ebony?
Okay, as far as that's concerned, my whole career is about serving different communities, I work in the Southeast, so a lot of it is, we do have a diverse population. It is important for us, our children, to be educated on different populations. As far as the teachers having full oversee of that, I really believe one of my pitches and one of the thing that I strongly believe in is we need family involvement too. It depends on what our population is. We need our family to be able to communicate what they feel is needed as well. It's not just, it shouldn't be just a few people deciding that. I think we need input from our families that are in the community.
Ron, would you like me to repeat this?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with, I think that those kinds of things are decisions that all of the stakeholders should have input, right? Teachers, parents, we have a librarian at the school. I think she came to a school committee meeting a month or two ago and spoke about the process that she goes to identify reading materials. We are comfortable with that, but certainly we'd like to see involvement and folks participating, attending school committee meetings, and we'd love to hear from teachers, parents, educators, so everybody has a say in the decision.
What is your opinion regarding religious doctrine being included in school curriculum and activities?
That's a very difficult question. I do believe in some school settings there's set to be a religious foundation, and I do believe that there needs to be education around different religions. However, it does not have to take place in the academic setting. There can be an awareness, but there should be no filtering or persuasion in regards to certain beliefs.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would answer this similarly to how I answered the last question, right? It's a hypothetical. What exactly are we talking about? What are the stakeholders? Like, I would like to see some involvement and understand exactly what we're talking about and take all of the stakeholders' feedback into a decision around that.
Okay. Going on, as an elected school board member, how would you vote on a motion made by a parent or a parents group to eliminate specific reading material for the entire student body?
Want me to go first?
Sure.
Again, it would depend on what the material was, what we were talking about specifically, right? And I would want to, again, hear from all of the relevant stakeholders so that there could be a balanced decision made, right? I don't think anyone should unilaterally make that kind of decision. It's about feedback from all of the affected parties and making a good, fair decision.
I think for me, I agree. I feel as if it has to be, all the curriculum should be a joint decision. It needs to really be, well, I shouldn't say all the curriculum because there's stuff that I don't know about, and I don't know that I would have all that much input without finding the resources. So I guess what I'm saying is I believe that everyone should have some say in that. And I do think, Ron's right, we need some more information regarding what that would entail, and it's good to gather the information before we make those decisions and get everyone's input on that too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both. One more question. What is the greatest problem facing the schools, and what would you do to help improve that?
I think, well, I guess it's from my lens right now, but I just think it's not just the schools, it's our community, and being united as one and being able to communicate and effectively have a not us and them kind of relationship, more of a relationship of, okay, we're going to work together and solve all the problems that come into play. So for me, it's the biggest issue is that being, I guess, transparent and being open to know what's, and also learning more. I mean, I'm always open to learn more. I'm just starting off. Ron's been here for a little longer, so a little more experience in this area, but I'm open to learn, and I want to learn, and I want to absorb, but I want to hear our community's voice too, and I want that to be a part of it, and I want our teachers to be heard. I want our community members with and without children to be heard, because they all contribute to it.
It's hard for me to pick one. I'm going to not go back to the safety issue because I can't even imagine when I went to school, I didn't grow up doing these drills, safety drills and all this stuff, and I can't imagine what kids feel like today when they go through these drills. So making them feel safe and making sure the environment is safe, I do think is most critical. But, you know, if I touch on one of the other things I mentioned, I do really feel strongly about the long-term talent strategy, right? About making sure we have a pipeline, making sure that we're being competitive in this district and we're able to attract and retain quality teachers and administrators. I think we'll see a lot of them next 3, 5, 10 years retire, and backfilling those roles and making sure we've got the pipeline is going to be really important to our kids, to make sure we've got quality people. And I would just add that continuing to focus and making sure we have the right curriculum in the schools to me are important.
Can I add something? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not traditional, I'm breaking all the rules, sorry. But I also like to add that I agree with the safety issue, that's at heart, but as far as the schools, I completely lost my train now. Disregard that.
Ginkgo's very good for that.
I did have it, and then I didn't have, I had to wait, and so, you know.
If you remember.
Okay,
Let us
sorry.
know. Ron, let me give you an equal amount of time if you want to say anything or add anything, to be fair.
No, good.
You good? Then,
Any more questions out there?
oh, there you go.
For our candidates? Seeing no questions? Thank you very much.
Ebony McGlynn, Ron Hood, thank you. And from here,
Last group would be the selectmen.
absolutely. Why don't you call them up and we'll drill them.
For Board of Selectmen, we have Mr. David Warner and Mr. Eric Chu. Come on up. If you have any questions, write them down and get them to me.
How are you? Both doing well?
Yes, sir.
That's good. Great to see you both. Why don't we start? Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is David Wonar, and been a long-time public servant in Acushnet. But by my personal background, I'm husband, father of twin boys, 13-year-old boys, 8th graders. And my day job is I serve as a senior executive for the hospitality industry's leading e-commerce marketplace. And so that's a little bit of my background. I graduated from UMass Dartmouth many years ago, and I've been involved in public service with the town for many, many years. For those of you who don't know, this is my second stint on the Board of Selectmen. I served for many years previously, and during that time worked with countless volunteers. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about this evening in my opening statement, by no means is it me trying to take credit for all those things that have been done. I've worked with past selectmen, Les Dakin, Bob Brown, Mike Chopper, my colleagues, Mr. Gasper, Mr. Hinckley. And over the years, we've worked to improve the infrastructure in town, some of the things going back to additions and renovations at our school, taking the parking lot that was outside of Parting of the Ways Greens and turning it into that beautiful center of town facility that it is now, working with the park boards and CPC to improve the fields at Pope Park, working with Acushnet Youth Soccer in the school committee and the school department for the beautiful fields that we have back there for our town's youth. Worked with past fire chief to combine fire and EMS and have that paramedic structure that we have in place. We fought tooth and nail with St. Luke's Hospital to make sure that we got our fair share. Worked with Mr. Dakin on that. I recall those discussions taking place. Worked with library trustees for the new library that we have, utilizing, when we worked for become a green community. We were very creative. We used green community dollars, students from Old Colony, for that beautiful facility that we have now. Worked with the police department and the police union and previous selectmen. to convince voters to approve a new police station. But that was then, and I understand, and I've said it time and time again, as my grandfather told me in my baseball career, you're only as good as your next at bat. And so some of the things I'm working on now with my colleagues on the board, we're working to improve safety at Lake Street. We tried to curtail over-aggressive solar development by initiating a solar moratorium, which has given us an opportunity to pump the brakes and put in better safeguards for over-aggressive solar development. Some of the things I'd like to see if re-elected, I'd like to work with my colleagues and a planner in our planning board to bring in over 55 housing. I think it's a need, it's something that we need in town. There are many people who've lived here their whole life, but do not want the burden of home ownership or to have to take care of a large yard, might want to sell, but still live in a community. You look at Rochester at Plum's Corner, there's over 55 facilities and housing all over the South Coast that I think would fit in with the character here, but we've got to change that bylaw. And you know, my track record is when I'm involved in a project, I try to see it through, I try to put it over the top, try to find the resources. Most recently, we met with Representative Paul Schmidt to ask for money for this building. And he tells us now that the House put in their version of the budget $80,000 to help with infrastructure improvements here. And we're going to fight with Senate and work with Senator Montigny. Working with the Board of Selectmen now, we're fighting DEP regulations that would force all of you to have to upgrade their septic systems. Again, you know, we created a grassroots movement to push back against that, and we're getting some traction there. So, do I bat 1,000? Absolutely not. Do I make mistakes? I do, but I try to not repeat them. And I feel that as a candidate, as an experienced selectman, I'm battle tested. I've been there, done that, but I'm also willing to learn, try to learn from my mistakes, and that's what I hope to bring to the table. I hope I've earned your support. Hopefully I've earned your support over the years, and will continue to do so in this Selectman Seat 2.0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. By all means.
Good evening. My name is Eric Chu. Some of you may recognize me from the COVID testing and produce distribution that we did here at the COA during the trying times of COVID. I've been a resident in this town for the last 12 years and have volunteered for our Office of Emergency Management and our Finance Committee. I am a husband and a father of 4 wonderful children. Professionally, I work as an IT director for a local engineering firm. Since the pandemic, I have become increasingly concerned with not only the direction the town is heading in, but also lack of oversight on some of the important issues that we are currently facing. Recent beautification projects are nice, but what have they done to relieve some of the financial burden our taxpayers have? To start with, we have a decaying infrastructure in town. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. We have continuously stalled on the Slocum Street project that puts our opera funds at risk. If this money is not allocated by December 31st, 2024, we will risk losing out. I am concerned that we use our CARES money to purchase an abundance of digital signboards and holiday lights for our town buildings, when it could have been spent on replacing first responder apparatus, such as our upcoming replacement of the fire tanker and a potential ambulance. Money that we now have to secure through free cash. What's going to happen with the Russell Memorial Building that's been sitting vacant since 2015? There's a potential there to sell it or rehab it for something, but it's been sitting there for too long. I'm also concerned that we are continuing to lose staff at an unprecedented rate and not replacing key positions. Why haven't we done what it takes to get a town planner to help us get some grants that we can use? The facts are that we've had 4 town administrators in the past 6 years, and it's caused us to be redundant in some areas and lose focus. An attempt to take away department head contracts and make them employees at will resulted in them forming a union. A move that will now cost taxpayers additional money once the contract is negotiated. In recent budget hearings, which I was part of on our finance committee, has revealed that we need to replace several key IT infrastructure items at the school and in town hall to the tune of $250,000 due to poor decisions by our previous IT director. Where was the oversight in this? I would also be remiss not to mention the town's ongoing battle with PJ Keating. Our current administration schedules meetings for 4 and 5 p.m., which discourages public participation since most residents are still at work. This year, we are also served with a $50 million federal lawsuit against the town of Acushnet and its leaders. If this battle continues, our legal fees will grow and we will eventually have to cut resident services in order to compensate. It is time to sit at the table with PJ Keating and get people back to work. We simply cannot afford to allow this to drag on. And then finally, our senior population is increasing, but affordable housing is decreasing. What are we doing to keep our seniors in their homes, or at least in the communities that they grew up in? And with that, I would like to thank everyone here for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
So is there an opportunity to provide a little bit of rebuttal at all? Or,
Absolutely. This is a chance for all of us to get to know each other, right?
We'll have a closing, so if you want to use that in your closing, we'll allow that, okay?
I just got talked down.
I could go back, then we'll do that at closing.
My wife's like that.
We do have some questions.
May I? Okie dokie. Thank you, Ray. All right, David, we'll start back and forth, or if you want. What are the top 3 things that you have done to make Acushnet a better place to live?
Let's see, I volunteered over 280 hours with our emergency management during the COVID testing. I have participated in food distribution out here in COA. And also helped out with Nick with some IT type infrastructure stuff that we've done in town.
Great, thank you. Eric, thank you for your commitment to the town. It's really remarkable.
Move the mic over.
Oh,
There you go.
So, in my opening statement, I did, speak to some of the things that I feel like I've worked on and helped contribute to. Again, saying that with the utmost humility as a member of a team, not the one person solely responsible for it. But some of the things that I'm perhaps most proud of is working with previous boards on combining fire and EMS. I think that was a real game changer for the town. Mr. Dakin, I recall working with you on that, and that was something that we should all be very, very proud of. Something I've been committed to is public safety. While Lake Street may be classified as a beautification project, I'll concede that, but the driver of that is going to be the guardrails that are going to be put up and the safety improvements, and that's what's driving that project. Well, yes, it does look better, absolutely, but it will be safer when it's completed. And lastly, I feel like one other issue has been just an overall approach towards a better way of life, on infrastructure projects, whether it's a library, police station, parting of the ways green. Those are things that I feel like I've brought to the table that have made a difference in people's lives and the overall character of the town.
Very nice. All righty, what will you do in 18 months to recruit recruit and retain top talent for the town administrator's position when the position becomes vacant. Eric?
Thank you. I would go back to what we used to do, where we'd have a in-town committee of residents and also department heads to help select our next town administrator. That's what I would suggest that we do.
Thank you. So personally, you know, I've gone through this a number of times. When we hired the first town administrator, Alan Catino, who lasted for about 18 years, and then when I stepped down went into retirement, I think that's when a lot of the unrest has taken place, and some decisions were made, probably not in the best interest of the town, but not to criticize anybody. I mean, you deal with the candidates that are before you. But one thing I think is really important to understand is that Eric has an inherent conflict. His Heather, who we all love, is the Council on Aging Director. She's part of the union of department heads. And so there is a conflict of interest, unfortunately. And this isn't meant to criticize Eric, or it's not to criticize Heather, but I do feel it's important for people to understand that as a selectman, you have to be unencumbered in order to make decisions on behalf of all the taxpayers. And so I think my opponent would be in a tough spot to be part of that search process when he has a close relative, a spouse, who would be reporting to that town administrator. Again, I think it's just important to understand that distinction between the two of us.
All right, why don't we continue with David? We have seen many good people that work in the town leave. What do you plan to do to help bring and keep talent in town?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, to be honest with you. One of the issues is we're not paying enough, and we've got to address that. We should address that. During my time as a member of the board, I've always been a supporter of our employees. Yes, there's been some negotiations that don't yield the best results for both parties, but that's kind of a win-win for everybody. If both parties are unhappy, that means that that's probably in the best interest of the taxpayer. That said, I've been public about talking about, creating a performance bonus structure. I've talked about advancement and things of that nature. So I think, I'm on board for that. I don't have to haggle every single penny out of our town employees. They should be treated fairly, compensated appropriately, and that's been a hallmark of my career as a member of the Board of Selectmen.
We have you answered the question?
No, I think
okay, Eric. We have seen many good people that work in the town leave. What do you plan to do to help bring and keep the talent in town?
With this, I would actually agree with my opponent. We need to recognize and reward those employees that are in this town to help keep them here. I'm not saying that we need to sit there and break the bank and make everybody rich, because that's not what this is about. It's about taxpayers and what's fair to them and also fair to the employees. That's my take on that.
Thank you, Eric. Another question, what are the top 3 issues in Acushnet? Dave?
Well, I think it all comes down to our finances and economic development. I mean, that's number one. And I think as a town, Eric talked about a town planner. I've been supportive of having a full-time town planner. I'm pleased to hear that the Finance Committee and the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen will be advancing an article at town meeting to pay a professional to recruit a town planner, so then we can start looking at creative ways to enhance our economic development, which in turn will bring in additional revenue. By bringing in additional revenue, we then can start paying our employees more, providing better services. So it revolves around managing our finances, economic development. Infrastructure is a huge problem, and public safety would be number 3, and those two I think are intertwined. We are on South Main Street, and I know we've talked about it, and I hope somebody brings it up. It is one of the unsafest streets in South Coast. We've got to do something about it, and I'm happy to talk about that issue. But we've got to make our streets safer. We've got to make sure our public safety units are taken care of, and those are the issues that I see really important to the town.
Eric?
3 issues I see. We have the train that's going to be opening the end of the year. That's going to increase household demands in this town, affordable housing in this town. Our infrastructure needs to be able to support this, so infrastructure would be number 2 for me. And PJ Keating, we got to get this situation with PJ Keating resolved and put to bed finally. And that's how I feel about that.
Thank you, Eric. And Dave. Anybody have questions? Yeah, go right ahead. Why don't you identify yourself, please, and ask away.
So Ron Hood again. Question for David and Eric. You know, it sounds like, and I know I've heard this and seen it in town, we have some of the same talent strategies for, or lack of being able to pay and retain people, right, that we experience in the school at times. And so I guess I'd ask both of you, if elected, would you be willing to work with the school committee, finance committee to look at ways that we can creatively address some of the concerns that I raise relative to the school, to the teachers, administrators, and how we attract and retain, you know, top quality folks there?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. Yes.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, this is the purest form of democracy. Do you know that, with a small d? And you know, in our country, this has been practiced for 300 years. Keep on with the tradition. Several towns are discussing Prop 2.5 overrides. What are your views on this issue? And Dave?
No.
Not on my watch.
No, no?
No, no.
Yes, yes, all right. There we go. Do you have any plans to make Acushnet more climate friendly? Eric?
Make it more climate friendly. That's a good one. Well, I keep talking about PJ Keating. Well, there's some climate issues there. As part of them opening back up, they need to make sure that they are good neighbors and they're not polluting where they shouldn't be. Okay, that I am firm on. Well, I am firm on. Solar farms, I think we need to be careful because every farm in town is being leased and purchased and subleased, and we can't be doing that. This is a farming community, right? We can't be digging up our farms to just put up solar panels all over the place. There's got to be some way we can control that. But to make things more energy efficient in town, I am in support of putting solar. The school's talking about putting a solar array or a canopy in the parking lot. There's a big old parking lot back here, the COA. You can throw one up here. We have big roofs up on parting ways. You know, the fire station has a solar farm. Why don't we utilize some of that space and put some panels there as well in the long term? Just some ideas.
Thank you. Yeah, and so I am, of course, for our commitment to energy, and I've done that. Worked with Jim Merritt and some others to get Acushnet green community status. In fact, we were one of the first communities in the South Coast to get that status. And what has that done for us? It got us solar panels on the fire station. It's brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant money for us to retrofit our town buildings. And so I'm for that. I have been for that. I've helped push that over the finish line, and I'll continue to do that in my next term. Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Any more questions?
Everything is good? You want more money?
Everybody wants.
When is the election?
May
May 13th.
When?
May 13th,
Thank you.
8 a.m. to 6
Oh,
p.m.
6 p.m., sorry.
What is it?
8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is there anything we unintentionally jumped over or anything that we can do? Let me give you the last word here. Is there anyone here who wants to share anything? If not, I just want you to know you all can be so proud of yourselves. What great examples you all are. I mean this from my heart. You done good there, Acushnet. Yes? One of my fans. Yes.
About Acushnet, Laura Keene Avenue I live, okay?
Okay.
I looked out the window last night before midnight. Dark as can be. I've been in this town 62 years, okay? Laura Keene Avenue needs at least one light near my house. Because there's 10 houses on my street, dark.
Well, because in 2008, they shut off, during the recession, they shut the lights off. We have like one street light lit now, but they had
Now, how
to
do you,
because of that.
how do you handle that in Acushnet? She has a legitimate complaint and she needs some guidance here. So where does it go from here? What is your process?
It just did. It came to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Gasper, Mr. Hinckley, myself. We'll get it done.
There you go. What do you say? Huh? All right? Does anyone fix tickets? No. Michelle?
If we're talking about lights, I want to talk about signs. I'm on the roads all the time, and I don't see any speed limit signs. Our stop signs are barely legible. I'd like this to be improved.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Michelle? Yeah. So we have May 13th. Hope you all come out. And lastly, something very special is happening this Sunday that I want you all to be aware of and to spread the word about, because you have a wonderful resident by the name of Eric James. Why don't you stand up, please? Eric is... I asked Eric to join me tomorrow morning on the radio to discuss something that I think is an honor for all of you here in Acushnet. And for me to say it wouldn't give it the meaning and the passion that I, for 1 minute, want Eric James to tell you what is happening here on Sunday. It's such an honor.
Thank you, Phil. Hi there, Eric James again. So I'm the Vice Commander of the American Legion Post 265 in Acushnet. And this Sunday we're going to dedicate the town. It's going to be a Purple Heart town. So you see the signs around. Thank you. So we're going to have a ceremony at Pope Park, the Veterans Corner over there. It's going to be 10 o'clock. This Sunday, and we have a few speakers. Purple Heart recipients going to show up, and they'll say a few words. The selectmen will be there, hopefully, and after that, we'll go over to the Legion and have coffee and donuts. So it's a great honor to recognize the Purple Heart people in town. So it's an honor to be involved with that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All righty. On behalf of the Lions Club, the Acushnet Lions Club, on behalf of all of you, thank you so very, very much. And most especially, I hear from a lot of you when you message me, I love you. I mean it. I love you. Don't let your husband see the emails, though.
5 more minutes each. Go ahead, close it.
Oh, that was just an intermission. You hear me? Intermission time. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Who would go first?
I went first.
That's fine. Eric?
I'd like to I would like to take this time and thank the Lions Club and Phil for sponsoring and hosting tonight's event. I would also like to thank my opponent, Selectman David Warner. Remember Team Acushnet? It was a great feeling to be part of a team, and I want to bring that back to town. So when you go to the polls on May 13th, ask yourself this: who did I see every time I went to the school or the COA for COVID testing? When I was finally able to get vaccinated, which candidate did I see? When I waited in line for produce at the COA, who put it in my car? The answer was simple: it was me. I, along with so many others, have stepped up to this town when our town was suffering due to the pandemic. I didn't hide behind Zoom meetings or stay safely at home. Longevity breeds complacency. In closing, the time is now for change. Therefore, I am asking for your vote in this year's Selectmen's race on Saturday, May 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. David?
Thank you, Eric, for your service during that time. I think it's commendable, and for all those other folks who volunteered, hats off to them as well. Before I close, I did want to touch on a little bit of business, what was discussed in the opening remarks and some of the different issues. But one thing, again, I think it's important for people to understand the distinction between the candidate. Eric's a great guy. Heather, she's one of the best public servants we've ever had. Hired her once, hired her twice. She's awesome. Unfortunately, there's an inherent conflict of interest if Eric were to be elected. He can't participate in any of the negotiations dealing with department heads. Can't participate in town administrator search. We know it's coming. So I think just from a purely business standpoint, I ask that you consider that. Do you want a selectman who can vote on all of the issues all of the time, or a selectman who can vote on some of the issues some of the time? Again, it's not a question of integrity. It's not a question of malfeasance. It's just, it is what it is. It is an inherent conflict. So now that I've got that aside, I've served the town for a long time, and I understand that. And yes, I agree. Doing things for a long time can breed some complacency. However, I feel that's why I took time off the first time. I came back because I saw what was going on. I wasn't happy. All the things that you rattled off, Eric, the things that you talked about were taking place during a time where people were doing their best, but I just didn't see it. So that's why I wanted to come back. I'm thrilled to be working with the Board of Selectmen that I'm with now, Mr. Hinckley, Mr. Gasper. I am confident that now that we've gotten through COVID and we can get back on our feet, we'll get the staff back in place, and we'll set the infrastructure up for the next 10 years or the next 18 years for our residents. I'm committed to the job. I love the job, and I love the town of Acushnet. So I ask for your consideration once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. How about a round for all the candidates and yourselves? One last thing. Oh, I should have been in bed a half an hour ago. You know that, right? Pam touched on something I want to end with, and that is the energy that all of us have. We can direct it one way or the other. When people have great energy, you're like a magnet. And this community, I feel such great energy from. I don't know if you're aware of it, but these outsiders are. And all I can say is keep it up. Thank you all.